So the most common situational awareness techniques is the SART, the SAGAT, and the SPAM. The SART is a 7-point questionnaire. It's mainly about a subjective technique. So you ask the participant questions, and it's mainly you see what's his opinion about, and it's a bit tricky because there has been a previous study. We've done a previous study, and there was a question about rating their experience and how they find also themselves if they're experts or not. And when we did the experiment and we got the results that the experts weren't as experts as they thought, and overconfidence is always a problem. Then you have the SAGAT, which is mainly a freeze probe technique. So it's mainly, you have, if you take like an example like a pilot, so he goes into a simulation and then everything freezes, and they ask them questions for the different levels. You have different questions, so they taking the results and then they say what is the level. And in the SPAM technique, it's mostly the same. The only difference is mainly verbal interactions. So you press the space bar and you try and answer the questions just verbally. We are looking at the cognitive factors because the defender is dealing with complex cognitive tasks, and most of you know the BFI personality test, which is mainly used also in the interview process. And we are looking into 3 cognitive tasks, which is the mental rotation, the syllogism, and the comprehension span. They're mainly really easy. It's mainly to see if they can handle all the information. The mental rotation is mainly you give them to pair the same pictures, but the rotation doesn't matter. The syllogism is just giving them some sentences and see if they can identify if it's true or false. It's mainly measuring reasoning. And the comprehension span is mainly give them some sentences and ask them if it makes sense. And if it makes sense, they are also asked to say the last word of every sentence. And what we are doing in our research, we are trying to see what is the best technique so we can integrate it for the network defense environment. And we also investigate different monitoring tools and visualization techniques. What we did mainly is, in the first part of the study, it was mainly just gathering the participants and informing what the experiment is, and do the personality test, the BFI, and gather some subjective data with the SART method, so you can also compare them in the end with the simulation data. And for the second part, we built a private network. So this is a simple schema. You can see that you have the root, and this network is completely isolated, so you can avoid any mistakes or anything that might happen. The users also can VM and get inside the network. And you have a victim inside. And we had different scripts run, different attacks, different times. And while they were doing live monitoring, you gave them the questions beforehand, so they knew what they will have to answer. And you were recording everything, so you knew exactly what they were doing. And you were just taking the recording afterwards and see what's going on, if they answer the questions, and what they really thought. The visualization tools, we didn't use any intrusion, automatic intrusion detection systems, because in many studies we saw that automation leads to decrement of operators' SA, but it can increase their confidence, of course. We used WireShark, which is a traffic analyzer, the picture is there, and also Logstalgia, which is a Google tool, and it's quite strange because it's mainly a kind of ping-pong game. and the paddle represents the server, and the requests are coming from here. So when a request is hit by the paddle, this is where the server sends the reply, and it's kind of the communication between them. And we use also a log analyzer, which was the simplest thing to do. Some of the sample questions were what are the systems are, what systems are up in my network? Is my network status normal? What are the attack looks like? Who is attacking? How successful is the attack? What is the priority level? Many more that cover all the 3 levels of that. The initial attacks were brute force, DDoS, and man in the middle. And we also gave them, because we thought the psychology part, and maybe they would be stressed if it was live monitoring. So we gave them previous log and the same questions, and we could see if they could recognize what's going on in the network. The conclusions and the future work, we can add more attacks and enrich the simulation. We can group the participants and add different monitoring tools and visualization techniques. For our experiments, we're using different operation systems so they can feel more in the reality and what they feel more comfortable with to use. So we used Windows and Linux. We haven't covered the issue of cost metrics and scalability. The thing is, like, the first part doesn't cost anything, and the second part, which is the simulation, depends on the resources you want to use and the magnitude of your experiment. And this study was designed for a medium-sized experiment, and if you want, we will look into adapting it in a bigger organization like Amazon Services and other ones. So this is me. Thank you.